Hey everybody, it's Matt from RideHub here, and on this episode of Trail Physics, we're going to be looking at the Entrails Whale Back here in Squamish. So for all the different types of trail features in Squamish, this one is probably the most notorious. Entrails is an access trail that we use to get to a lot of the different slab trails in Squamish, and this rock feature is pretty intimidating the first time you tend to look at it. Now, what makes this feature so difficult is just the precision riding that's required to get down it safely. If you look, we have some pretty big exposure here off the right-hand side, and we're talking a solid 8 to 10 feet down from here. And then as you move down this very steep section, there's even more exposure down towards the bottom. Up on this piece of rock, you've got about another 6 foot exposure off the right side. And then there's a whole slew of different lines. The crux of this particular move really lies in the transition from the first rock to the second piece of rock. And what normally happens, as you'll see from some of the videos, is that people will lose control on this first section of rock and either slide out with their front or back wheel. Which leaves them in a really bad spot, because what will normally happen is they fall right, which is over the edge here. And you can see there's trees and rocks and a whole bunch of other things to hit. Not a very good place to fall. It's very, very important we use good bike body separation and body positioning technique, and then also really advanced braking technique. Part of this as well requires some commitment to your line and learning when to let go of the brakes. The thing you don't want to do in this rock is start skidding, either with your front wheel or your back wheel. If either of your tires are skidding, you're going to be out of control, and it's going to be very, very hard to recover. So what we're going to do is take you down the most common line that people will ride when doing this whaleback move. So they'll start by coming up the edge of this spine. And again, this is a very grippy rock, but they're generally staying just to the left side of the ridge of the spine. And as you start controlled descent down here, it starts getting very, very steep. And again, this is where most people lose control. And what we need to do is cross over this little V-notch and up onto this first ridge right here. As we continue down, you'll see it starts getting a little skinnier, a little bumpier, and the exit is a straight rocky line out here. Some riders will also choose to go up this particular rock line. What this does is sets them up very well for a wide exit. You'll notice though, we end up in a very big off-camber root situation. And this first line that we were talking about right here tends to be the smoother line. There's a bit of a root knuckle right at your exit. So maintaining your speed control on this particular feature is very, very important. So what we'll do now is we'll go ride down that main line, transition onto this first spine, and come down here. So the biggest reason people tend to crash on this trail is they have bad body position or bad braking technique. A lot of people tend to hesitate when they see the pitch of this rock and they move their body weight back. So now your front tire is very, very light and it wants to slide down this rock instead of slowing us down. If the front tire slides, we're going to wash out. It's going to be a bad day. One of the super common braking mistakes we see is as people come on to this rock and they start descending, they're grabbing too much back brake. Because this rock's on a really steep camber to the inside, if you grab too much back brake, your rear tire will actually start sliding to the inside. You'll see all the way up this rock slab, there are big, big white marks where people's pedals and frames have scraped. Look at this one. Woo! all the way down the inside of the rock. So we don't want the rear tire sliding. We have to maintain good modulation of the rear brake so that it doesn't slide down the inside of this rock. So I'm going to be using a lot more of my front brake to keep myself under control. We maintain a good centered body position to ensure we have lots of front brake, and we carry that to what I call the breakaway point. Now this is the point on your descent down this feature where you have to commit to your new line. And this is where you're actually going to start modulating your brakes, letting them go a little bit so you can carry some momentum up over this notch and onto the next spine. People come down this rock, they start committing to this new line, they hesitate, and they start grabbing brakes as they come up this pitch. That's another reason that you'll slide. People will come up this rock. Again, it's very off camber. If you grab a whole bunch of brake, you're gonna find that that tire wants to slide. And this is a lot of rear tire slide we tend to see on this. So a person gets the front tire up onto the obstacle, and then they start braking with their back brake, and the tire slides sideways, and they go for a tumble. Get onto the rock completely with both front and rear tire, and then once you're centered on this rock, begin your braking. If we try to do it too soon, we're gonna end up losing control of the back wheel. We now have a nice straight exit, and we can start slowing ourselves down until the end of the rock. Now, when we hit the end of the rock, we really want to be under control at this point. If we've lost all of our control, this section of the trail is super loose. Very hard to get your braking back under control. And what people will tend to do is just barrel off the end here, blow right off this berm. Good low body position and braking and braking and braking until we get to that breakaway point, which is right about here. And then I'm going to allow the bike to roll down up onto this spine and then begin my braking again. Keep my speed under control all the way until I get onto the dirt, and at which point I'm going to execute my turn. There are numerous ride-arounds for this feature, so don't feel intimidated or pressured to have to ride this. So that's the Entrails Whale Back. Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Trail Physics with RideHub. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below, and please subscribe. It helps us continue making this content. Have yourself a wicked day and go ride your bike.